Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about therapy homework, right? So therapy homework is the, homework assignments that we give to people at the end of each session, and they are to kind of work on that outside of session. So therapy homework, I believe, is a really important part of therapy. And this is, of course, optional for the client. I always ask them if they want therapy homework, ask them how they feel about therapy homework. I do it as a collaboration and we brainstorm what that homework could be together. I'm not going to assign somebody a journaling exercise if they despise journaling, or anything like that. I want to make sure it's something that, they're on board with too, and that they understand why it's important. I also explain to people that, they could come to me every single day. They could have a session every day, but if they're not doing the work that we talk about in session outside of session, then you're really not going to make progress, because it's, most of this is about taking what we talk about in the session and then putting it into action out in the real world, in your life. So that usually gives them a little buy-in as well and makes them more motivated to make progress, and I explain that it helps you make progress between sessions, but it is completely optional. I, of course, don't pressure anybody, make anybody feel guilty, none of that stuff. I'm kind of like, do you want homework or not, So if you don't, that's perfectly okay. It's up to you, and you can change your mind at any time. If you decide later you'd like some homework, or if you want homework on different things here and there that we're talking about, something specific, we can, I'll let you know if I think of something, or you let me know if you want it, and we move from there. Another really important thing about therapy homework is that a lot of clients will assume that it's kind of due on the next session. And I tell them it is absolutely not due. Please do not do this as a homework assignment, because you don't just want to do it to get it done. You want to put your whole, emotional heart and soul into it. And so, because that's the only way that it's going to work as part of the therapy process. So I tell them that this therapy homework is optional, and it's on you. It's on your timeline, not mine. So don't worry about, having it done by the next session, or even the next session after that. If it takes you 2 months to do it, that's on you, not me. And I'm not going to be mad at you. Believe it or not, some clients have canceled their next appointment, thinking because they didn't have their therapy homework done. Some people have said, I thought you were going to be mad at me. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? So, these are things that I would have never thought I had to explain to a client, but now I always do, because I would never ever want anybody to feel that way. That defeats the whole purpose of, of the therapy homework, and even of the therapy process. So, and in terms of the type of therapy homework, this can look so different. Probably one of my favorite therapy homework assignments is I call it a therapy letter, where you're writing a letter to somebody, kind of venting out all the raw emotions. And I make it very clear, you are never ever going to give this to this person. This is for therapy only. I will never ever read it. This is for you and your eyes only. I instruct them to, destroy it right after they write it, so nobody finds it and reads it. Because again, this is their raw, deepest, darkest emotions, and you don't want anything like that coming out, from somebody else, especially if it was to that other person, and that other person happens to read it, which does happen quite frequently, unfortunately. I tell them they can do a burning exercise with it. I tell them they could rip it up if they do it in their phone or an audio recording, delete it immediately, get rid of it. Also, any sort of journaling where they are, where they're bringing out painful emotions, you don't want to reread it. You don't want to keep it and reread it, because now you just got all of that out and now you're like putting that all back in. I use a really gross analogy to make sure people remember this, because I've always had people go, "Oh yeah, I forgot you said that." And then they're like, "I reread it and all of that pain came back." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." So I use a pretty gross analogy of, if you throw up your food, and then you're not going to want to like re-eat it to put it back in. So think of like when you're writing that stuff in, or like doing anything to get all of that painful emotion out, you don't want to like re eat it and put it back in. Yes, I know that's very gross, but nobody has ever a client hasn't forgotten that since I started using that analogy. So it's so gross it works. So anyway, again, collaboration, try to come up with, something that the client, is on board with and motivated to do, understands. Yeah, I always explain why it's important, what it should help with, to kind of, help them be motivated to do it and to understand the process. I always give them my thought process behind things. Other homework assignments could even be things like, working out, or, meditating, doing some yoga or stretching. It could be even things like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be emotional stuff. It could be implementing, a certain boundary, or, it could be really anything. So just be creative, work with the client on that, and they should, usually my clients who do, are pretty good with the therapy homework, I see a lot more success with. So hopefully that helps. Bye.